Good morning on this Tuesday morning as we are coming off of that shorter week last week, and we've been talking about the normalcy of what we've been seeing within the market in terms of a lot of different things, but particularly volumes. And I brought this up yesterday. I was on both the noon show and the Fast Money show in the evening with Frank Holland, and it was great. And one of the things I wanted to point out was we are seeing volumes get a lot closer to a normalcy. It's not a bad thing, but a little bit more to the normal side of things. And it is, it's a little bit disappointing because we all are enjoying these incredible volumes each and every day. And let me tell you something, if you're newer to this world of the derivatives world, 30 million contracts per day is an unbelievable number. But we got used to November and December and the entire year of 2021, where we were well over 40 million contracts a day. And actually the last couple of months averaging closer to 44, 45 million contracts a day. So when you slip back off of that, it definitely feels a little bit of a yawner, except it's not so much of a yawner when you look at what was going on in the markets yesterday. All three major indices were ripping to the upside. And when you look at the Dow, and the Dow is up full 1% yesterday, a really nice move, 350 points to the upside. But it was the NASDAQ and it was the S&P. The S&P setting new records. Matter of fact, S&P setting records even today because it closed right at those all-time highs yesterday. That was up nearly 1.4% yesterday. Just an absolutely terrific day yesterday for the S&P, and the NASDAQ up also about 1.4%, over 200 points, about 217 points to the upside. What were the drivers really yesterday? Well, it was energy, and energy was absolutely ripping yesterday. It was up about 2.25%. When you look at energy, you directly look to crude, and that tells the whole story. We moved really rapidly. The velocity of this move from the last week or so, when I brought this up yesterday, a little over a week ago, we were trading 67. Yesterday, we were trading 75 for energy, for crude. That's a pretty big move. Semiconductors and technology, absolutely explosive. Semiconductors yesterday up not quite 3%, about 2.7% yesterday. And all of those option flows that we had yesterday as well, looking for upside. Everything that we saw yesterday within the space of semiconductors or technology was expiring on Friday, December 31st. They had enough of a move yesterday from the early parts of the day with the buying that the moves were already moves that oftentimes I think you'd have to look at it and say, wow, it might be time to trim, especially when you're looking at when are these expiring? Well, you've only got the week. So there is a limited time frame. And if you've got enough of a move, the idea of trimming actually should be part of the thought process there. NVIDIA was up about 4% yesterday, huge option paper. AMD up about 5+% yesterday, huge option paper. We also had Applied Materials and Texas Instruments participating very, very nicely across the board semiconductors with a great move to the upside. Also, you look at where technology up about 2%, give or take yesterday, a really nice move to the upside. It was Apple hitting 180. It was Tesla getting up there towards that 1100 world. Facebook was up $11 yesterday. Microsoft contributing as well. By the way, Facebook and Microsoft, a lot of option paper yesterday, huge option paper yesterday as well. And those stocks responded almost instantaneously from the call buying we were seeing yesterday, the moves that they made continuous throughout the rest of the session. Absolutely remarkable, huge moves. So semiconductors and tech space, absolutely getting that big lift. A lot of the names within FANG, or at least mega cap tech, semis, throw that in there, really had a really remarkable day. Retail sales, some of those numbers look pretty good. As a matter of fact, you look over at a name like Ralph Lauren, had an absolutely not just a crush day yesterday. Really a nice move to the upside, 4+% for them. So volatility, it was coming down, 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 and actually closed underneath 1770s where we closed. That's about perfect given where we are right now in terms of the movement that we've had day in and day out. So I always bring this up, in a volatility index that's giving you a 16, that's a 1% move. We're a little bit more than a 1% move. We're a little bit more than 16. 1770 is where we were. So that gives you an idea. I get people who push back all the time, and they've said this for years. They've been wrong for years. Volatility index actually has been an incredible indicator. It's giving you the measure of the facts, and the facts are what kind of movement we've had. There is some emotion within that as well, and you've got to factor in as well intraday movement. I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on a lot of the time when they're trying to analyze, well, how is this? That's exactly what we've been getting, and the volatility index is just as good now as it's ever been. Beta energy absolutely had a ripping day yesterday, of course. When energy has that move, when crude has that move, you look at those beta names, and they just absolutely were crushing it yesterday. APA, Devon, EOG, Diamondback, all those names having a really wonderful day. By the way, on the macro side of things, we did have some spider call buying as well. Rolling from December, 465s, going out to the January 14th expiration, 475s. That was something that really stood out yesterday. I might be hitting a little bit more on that in just a moment when we get to unusual. Before we do that, when we started off today, a little bit of different feel to today than versus yesterday, but the Dow side of things really has been moving and moving and moving to the upside. NASDAQ taking a little bit of breather from the looks of things. You look over at the NASDAQ, relatively flat, a little bit of a push to the downside. Sometimes we've seen already in the first hour a little bit of a lift, but basically call it unchanged. Meanwhile, you look over at the Dow, and the Dow started off the day around 90 points to the upside. We accelerated. We were up about 200 points to the upside. We've come off a little bit of those levels, but this is the first hour of trade. A lot of things can happen from here. You look at crude now, not just 75, now well over 76. You look at the 10-year, holding right around that 146 area, just about where we were yesterday. Volatility index, a little bit of a rise, trading right around that 18 level. So what were we seeing from a sector perspective? Well, energy started off decent, and it's been kind of holding in there. Little bit of pressure on technology and a little bit of pressure on the semiconductors after that ripping move yesterday. So it makes a little bit of sense. Matter of fact, when I looked at the semiconductors early, down about 0.5%. Just a little while ago, I looked again, down close to 1%. So giving back a little bit, that's to be expected. It's not going to go up each and every day, but then again, it sure could. So what are some of the movers that we're seeing today? Well, to the upside, you're seeing a little bit of movement from Boeing. You're seeing a little bit of movement to the upside from Moderna. We've got the energy names, once again, the beta energy names participating pretty nicely. Cruise ships with a nice little bit of a turn. Yesterday, a lot of that reopened trade actually had a little bit of pressure on it, despite the fact that the markets were ripping to the upside. You look at the casino stocks, not doing so well. You look at the cruise ships, not doing too well. Airlines, not too well. Today is seeing a little bit of a different story. Not a monstrous move, but a different move. And a lot of that might have at least some ties to some of the CDC. And I mentioned this yesterday when on television. The CDC now seems to be taking their advice and their recommendations from the NBA and the NFL. I'm not joking to say that. They have absolutely taken a page from professional sports, the private sector, as Frank mentioned yesterday, from what they were doing in some of the 10 days, squeezing it down to 5 days. It's really interesting, but you look at the CDC, I don't know about from a credibility standpoint, but it's interesting to see. It's something you absolutely have to be keeping your eye on. So semiconductors, I mentioned a little bit of pressure on them today. NXPI, look at Qualcomm, look at Xilinx, all those names, about 1% to the downside or so. But after the big monstrous move, makes a little bit of sense that we'd see that. Chinese names under a little bit of pressure once again today. If you followed the story with Didi, you understand why I have been saying now for probably the past year or so, when it comes to the Chinese names, because of regulations, because of the government and all the different things that are going on with the Chinese stock market, I got to tell you something. I personally have been looking at just options because I know what I can lose. When you're looking at the stocks and suddenly they can just shut things down or whatever kind of action they want to take, that can be something that very much can affect you financially. If it's just options, you know you bought an option for $1. You bought 10 of them, it cost you $1,000. You know exactly how much you can lose. When you go into some of these stocks and you've got substantial money that's flowing into the stock side of things, that gets a lot scary and a lot more dangerous, I think. So that's why whenever Scott or anybody has asked me about these Chinese names, I'll trade them, but I'm only going to be trading those with the options themselves. So let's jump to some unusual, and then I got kind of a free day today. Going to spend a little bit of the day celebrating with some of the family members I didn't see on Christmas. So looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. Spiders. I mentioned the SPY and some of that call buying yesterday, that roll from December to January 14th. Well, day 2 of that happened today. We got 14,000 January 14th expiring 490 calls that were getting bought as well. So yesterday we had that roll. Today we're seeing these 490 calls. Those are going for anywhere between 91 cents, 92 cents. Really fairly interesting to see that day 2. That's something I usually don't comment on ETFs, but with the spiders, it's pretty interesting to see all that bullish activity yesterday in technology, in semiconductors, and across the board, and specifically starting to see a little bit of that spider call buying once again. That's something that it does stand out. Facebook, day two. Yesterday, monster call buying. So 2 days in a row. Yesterday, when they were buying, stock was trading around 345. Actually, it was trading a little bit lower than that, but we always go to where the stock moved to from the start of that. So call it somewhere near that 345 level. They were buying those 360 calls, the 360 calls. Today, with the stock trading 351, we're seeing more Facebook, 16,000 of the December 350s. Those are going for about 275 all the way up to almost $6 for those calls. Here's the interesting thing. 2 days in a row, we are seeing this. These are both December expiring, which means Friday. Friday is the 31st. That's where we're seeing that expiration cycle. So things have to happen in a hurry for what we're seeing right now in Facebook once again. And by the way, all those options that I mentioned from yesterday that were hitting on the NVIDIA and AMD and all of that, Microsoft, those were all December expiring, very, very short term. So always keep that in mind. Folks, have a great day of trading. If you don't understand the options world, you don't understand all these Greeks, we've got great educators here at Market Rebellion. If you do, hopefully you're able to learn a little bit more about what we are seeing right now. A lot of craziness in the markets, a lot of movement, specifically in the Dow today, a lot less in the NASDAQ, but we've still got a lot of trading today and the rest of this week. Folks, have a great day of trading.